Welcome to my channel. My name's Jared, and today we're going to talk about the 356. Specifically, we're going to talk about why I didn't paint it. So in my last video, I did a price breakdown. If you haven't seen that, you should definitely check it out. If you watch that video, I think you'll understand why it doesn't make financial sense to do a full restoration on this car. You could buy a non-wrecked car for less than it would cost to rebuild this car. So obviously that was a big factor in not repainting it, but there's more to it than just that. So I'm going to go over that quickly in this video. So I know a lot of people have seen this car on YouTube and they see the videos and they think most of the work is already done. If I would just finish repairing these panels, they could be painted and the car could look brand new, right? And I understand why you would think that from looking at the videos, but you don't really see how much damage there is and where the damage is and what it would take to repair it. So I'm going to try to go over that now. First of all, you cannot repaint this car without replacing the roof. That can't be done. I don't think it shouldn't be done for sure. You should definitely replace the fender, but there's also this A-pillar is completely twisted and mangled. You can't use this again, but this section that the A-pillar sits on is also pushed in and up. It needs to come down and out. So those panels really should be cut off and new straight panels should be welded on to help get you back to where you need to be. This whole section needs to be cut off. The fender needs to be replaced. The inner structural piece in here was pushed in. It needs to be at least repaired, if not replaced. The door skins probably need to be replaced. The B pillars are crap. They need to be replaced. The C pillars really shouldn't be repaired. This should be cut out and redone. So you have to cut the top off of this car. You have to basically strip it down, strip it completely down, line everything back up where it needs to be, and weld on the new panels before you could start painting this car. And that's just a multi-year restoration. That type of project just takes forever. And in the end, you would have spent all that time and all that money for a car that's more expensive than if you just went and bought one that wasn't wrecked. Now, with that said, this car is not flimsy, right? This panel, some people actually think that this metal moved pretty easily because the video was sped up so much. It made it appear as though this thing's kind of flimsy and maybe it's dangerous to drive it in this condition. And I don't feel that way at all. For one, it's more safe than a convertible because there is a top. But it's not flimsy at all. If I put all my weight on this fender, if I sit, my feet are off the ground, if I sit on this fender, it does not move, right? This car had very thick metal. It was very hard to move, so that made it very hard to get these dents out at this point once I got to this stage. And then some people feel like I could have kept going on this or on the roof to make it straighter, and that's true. If you're not trying to keep the paint on the car, you can continue to beat on it and you can get that metal straighter and it would be closer to being ready to be painted. But again, like I said, you cannot reuse that roof. If you were trying to do that on the fender to repaint it, that's possible, not worth it in my opinion. But my problem was, the more I beat on this, the more paint I lost. And because I didn't want to paint the car, that was not my intention, I got to a point where I had to either stop beating on it and keep as much paint as possible, or continue beating on it and lose the precious original paint that I'm not going to be replacing with new paint. So I stopped beating on it and I left the dents as they are. So that's why I stopped where I did on the repair, and that's why I don't plan on painting it. Now, I wouldn't say that it'll never be repainted. Maybe 10 years from now, I'll decide that I want it to look brand new, and I'll go ahead and strip it down and do a full restoration on it, and it'll look brand new. And maybe by then, the value of the cars will be so high that it won't be a bad financial decision to do that. But it's not all based on the financial decision for me. The reason I build these cars is not to make a profit, which if you've been watching my channel long enough, you should know. I very rarely make any money on these cars. I'm actually doing very good just to get back what I put in them at the end, and that's after I put just hundreds and hundreds of man hours into them. So, profit is obviously not my goal. The reason that I build these cars is because, one, I really enjoy working on them. I enjoy taking something that's sat for a long time and getting it back on the road. But two, I enjoy the drive and the experience of an old car. I see these as a time capsule, and I want to see what it was like to drive this car back in the 60s. I want that experience. So that's why I keep them as original as possible. I want them to sound the same and smell the same and drive the same. I don't want to soup them up and make them feel like a modern car but look like an old car. I want them to look like an old car and feel like an old car. And so that's one reason why having the body damage and the scars doesn't really bother me. I'm not building show cars. I don't just sit around and stare at them and enjoy their appearance. I drive them. I enjoy driving them. I enjoy building them, and I enjoy driving them. So for me, this car ticks all those boxes, right? Inside, it's a very nice place to be. Mechanically, it's a very sound car. I love how original it is in here. I love the original carpet and dash and door panels and steering wheel. It feels like it's an old car. I like that it shows its age. You can tell it's old when you're in it. And if you do a full restoration, it's going to lose some of that charm, in my opinion. So anyway, that's why I made the decisions I made. That's why the car is not going to be fully restored, at least not for a very long time. So maybe that helps answer some of your guys' questions, maybe not. On another note, I am going to be leaving in just a few days for my drive up the coast. I'm going to be going on a 4-day drive with this car up the coast and back. So I just hit the 500 mark on this car. I've put 500 miles on it since I got it back on the road. So I did an oil change this morning, readjusted the valves, and I think I'm ready to go. I think the car is ready for the drive. I have pretty good confidence in it now after putting so many miles on it. I think, fingers crossed, I think it's going to make it. And even if it doesn't, it should make for an interesting video. So anyway, that's the 356. That's why I didn't paint it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And also I want to give a special shout out to my patrons. You guys are helping fund the channel and I appreciate that. And if anybody wants to become a patron, there's a link in the description. Okay, thanks. Bye.